I know it's a rather foregone conclusion, but you are one win away from officially clinching a playoff spot. Is that at all in anybody's thought process?
I haven't even thought about that, Doug, at all. We're just trying to make sure, like I said the other day, trying to be on an uptick going into the playoffs, improving our defense, improving our offensive rhythm, and then we have another phase to go through once Kyle does come back. So we just want to continue to improve and be on an uptick going into the playoffs.
Because this has been probably the most challenging season since you got here?
Well, just because of the injuries. I mean, it's been, it's been good. Everything's been positive, but except just trying to integrate different rotations in. Last year, I thought we were spoiled as far as our rotations were concerned because they were consistent, boring, and but this year's, unfortunate because of injuries, we had to be a little more innovative and be a little bit more flexible.
Good challenge to a coaching staff?
It is. It's fun. I mean, it's good because we have a good deep roster, young guys. The challenge is predicting how young guys are going to play. Like the other night, I thought Jakob and Dwane had probably their better games of the season just because of the activity, their decisiveness. And then there's games you look out there and you don't recognize them. So that's the difference in young guys and veteran guys. But I like their progress. I like their growth. I like the trajectory they're going through the season with.
You guys are going to be to like 47, 48 wins, probably somewhere in that number. And you started a rookie for 38 games. You got a rookie backup center. You had everybody hurt. 2 new guys coming at the deadline. That's quite an accomplishment.
Well, it's going to help the future. Those young men, they're not going to forget the experience they had in playing, in starting, especially Pascal, his development, and it's just a great opportunity for him. And at the same time, putting pressure on ourselves to win. I think that's the challenge that we have.
Dwane, all those changes and all those faces, does that play into it all, why maybe some of the slow starts have happened so consistently over the course of the year, or no?
No, because it's still basketball. As far as the rhythm, Eric, understanding exactly what we're doing offensively, having a feel offensively, maybe that, but it shouldn't affect our defense. It shouldn't affect the focus level, the energy level to start the game. Everybody, everybody can play hard. It doesn't matter what, but it could affect the rhythm a little bit, understanding, timing. You used to having Kyle out there playing a certain speed, now Corey, or whatever it is. So all those things are things that go into the formula, but nothing that's going to be a particular detriment to fast starts or slow starts or whatever.
We've asked you this before, I know, but any reason why you think this team seems to play better when they've been punched in the nose and they got to take that shot first before they give it back?
Well, I think we were that way last year. I think we were a fourth quarter team last year. I don't think it's new. It's unfortunate, but you want to. I'd rather finish strong, but again, we want to come out because I'm an old believer that the way you start is the way you finish, and you make it hard on yourself when you do start slow. But I like the way we've been finishing games, the way we come back and have a disposition in third quarter, fourth quarter. But we need to not put ourselves in that hole, that 7-2, 8-2, 10-2 hole that we've been doing.
Dwane, do you watch scoreboards now, given there's only 10 games to go in this season?
I mean, you look at the scoreboards after the games, but again, to me, Zach, like I said the other night, the most important thing is us getting better, us improving our rhythm, our defensive improvement, as much as standings or who we play, where we finish, or whatever. Of course, we'd love to finish high as possible, but more importantly, it doesn't matter where you finish if you're not playing well at that time of year. So our thing is our rhythm, our togetherness, and again, we got another challenge whenever Kyle comes back to get him back up into game rhythm, and it's natural. So we have another phase to go to even before we get to the playoffs.
When you mentioned Kyle, and obviously you want to have a healthy roster, but a lot of times this time of the season, teams are talking about rest versus rust going into the playoffs. Do you prefer it this way, where guys have to be playing competitive games all the way down the stretch?
I think this helps you better. I know it helps us. Maybe other teams it doesn't, but for our body types, our game types, I think playing helps us more than we've seen. We've tried the rest the past few years, and we've got off the slow starts in playoffs. I just think the rhythm for our guys, for our players, players is better. I just look at, Patrick Patterson. He's still trying to get his rhythm back from being out for 2 weeks. So for us, playing is better. And playing meaningful games. We're not playing teams that are playing for lottery picks. We're playing for teams that are scratching, trying to make the playoffs, which is a different level. I mean, these are probably just as physical and as intense as playoff games.
When you guys are going to see Terrence in a few days, what was your memory when you first coached him?
That he was an athletic player, that the future was going to be great for him, and it is. It's fundamentally had a lot to learn, and he did. He's really developed into a mature player, and he's still growing. He hadn't hit his ceiling yet. I'll cheer for Terrence, but not just on Monday night.
Was he a good kid to coach?
Did you have to tell him on that Sunday, that day in Chicago? Did you have to tell him?
I went to his room and told him that morning. It was tough on both of us. I was emotional. He was emotional. And, unfortunately, that's part of the business because, you watch a young man come in as a young kid with his dogs. And I remember one game we were going to start him in an exhibition game. He had a stomach ache, and he couldn't go. So, but again, he had a rough start. Injuries and sick, whatever it was. But again, you could watch. I saw him grow every day. He got better. Had opportunity to play early, and he's developed into the player he is now.
Was that a blunt conversation, or did you have to ease your way?
That you're traded?
Yeah.
There's no easy way about that, Zick. There's no you've been traded, as part of the business, and then we talked about how he started and where he is now, and where his ceiling is, that he's going in the right direction.
Did you have to tell Sully too, or that was at home?
Sully, I didn't tell Sully. Sully was back, so we back in Toronto. So I didn't tell him.
It's a whirlwind week.
It's a tough week, but a good week. It was a good week for everybody involved, and that's considered a good trade.